Okay. Abba, it's a rainy day out there, and we are asking that you would come. You're always here, but that you would speak to us today, that our questions would be answered by you. Even the ones that I don't know the answer, that you would give us wisdom to know how to find your answers. We love you. We honor you. We thank you for this new week. And speak to us. We're here to learn. We're sitting at your feet. In Yeshua's mighty name. Amen. Okay. Okay, so where are what's your first question, Danielle?
Okay.
Wait, Danielle, are you asking a question about the assemblies?
Yes.
Okay, before you ask your question, then can we talk to her about that Sukkot thing?
Yeah.
Okay, since that way it'll be like in order.
Yeah. Remind me of the Sukkot thing though.
Okay, so on the last page of the festivals,
Okay.
the last question on the new workbook, it's page 123.
Oh yeah.
And she's talking about the 4 seasons of the year. The world is judged, and the whole Sukkot one, like I had answers for all Sukkot. On the next page, it says, explain how the 4 items being judged are correlated to their corresponding moedim. And it was, I think it's water. Yeah, tabernacles, they are judged in regard to water. It just completely went over my head, like I missed everything.
Oh, remember the libation? That is
so. Go ahead.
That is celebrated in Sukkot. So that's
okay. So all of this, so that's all from Mishnah. That's not. Are there like biblical connections, or is it just Mishnah stuff?
I do not know that answer. Okay. Well, the only thing that comes to my mind is so tabernacles is the heavenly coverings, right? Mm-hmm. And clouds are, water. So that could be a link there. The other thing too is if you go back, when in Yom Teruah, we're celebrating the beginning of creation, and we have the 4 rivers. So there could be where water comes in too. See, she doesn't sometimes she does when she takes things out of, okay. She does have something about the Mishnah though. Let me refresh my memory on that one. It's a collection of Jewish laws up to the New Testament is general belief. The Mishnah represents his thinking. Well, she's just explaining what Mishnah is. Yeah. A lot of times she does let us know where she's taking it from. And obviously right there in the bottom, it says about Rosh Hashanah and the feast in the Mishnah. So yes. Yeah. Sorry, okay. She does say there that is from the Mishnah. That's the answer.
Okay.
So
well then I just read more into it than I should have. I was just
And what I love about that is I know that I was one of those, and there's still a lot of people that I went to one of my trips to Israel. I went with someone that was leading that tour, and he kept talking about because the Talmud, because the sages, and I'm like, I don't care. Just tell me where in the Bible is. I don't care what they think or they don't think, that's not where I'm at. I want to know what God says. And so it was so immature and ignorant of me, because the truth is, these people have been walking this a lot longer than I have. They have taken it apart, back and forth, over and over and over throughout the years, just meditating on it, kind of chewing the cud with it over and bringing it up and chewing it again. And, who am I to say, I don't want to hear what they have to say,
Right.
So,
No, I was just trying. I struggle sometimes with Elisa's things, because sometimes she'll throw like tidbits out here that don't necessarily connect biblically, and then sometimes she'll bring it all around. It's like, aha. And so I was expecting that, and that's not what, if that's not what it was, then I'm just missing it. And
yeah.
but that's okay. Yeah.
I'm doing this recordings now for this pastor in Kenya, and he has never heard of any of this. He's like, I've never heard any of these teachings. I am so like, and so he wanted us to go and teach us. Like, I can record it and send it to you, but I can't really go to Kenya. So, and you can't teach all of that. Like, if I decide to go for a week, there is just impossible, right? So it's like, I can do this, but what ends up happening, and believe me, well, how much I know is this little compared to how much Lisa knows. But I do see a little bit what happens in her mind when she has all this information and she thinks it all. So it just comes in her teaching, and then she'll say something, but she forgets that we have absolutely no clue where she got that one from. So it seems to us like they're disconnected because we don't know where they're coming from.
Yes.
But they're very much connected in her mind, and she knows exactly where she's going with that. So, and there are times that she realizes that, or she is going to explain that. But there are times that if I get into that, I will miss what I'm doing here. And it's like, okay, so like I was saying, and I come back here and I'm like, I would have loved to take that trail and explain that a little better. So it is challenging to, and not to, because what happens is, as we're going through, if you ask me something, as I'm going through the information in my head to know what to answer, my mind is hitting different things, and I may say them to get to what I want to answer. But then I left those little tabs open for you that are like, what was that all about? Well, what did you mention that for? So that, but yes, she does explain that, that it is from the Mishnah. And there are, we would have to go back, because obviously in the Torah, when he's talking about any of this feast, that is like the first mention, obviously, where it all came from. There are little seeds there, but we know when we see the final tree in the Brit Hadashah, when he's saying, I am the living water. So the whole, the libation, they go and get the water and bring it. It is such a festive part of Sukkot for them. He is saying, that little thing that you guys do? I'm it. So the water is a huge part of that, that celebration. So they say that it is. I've seen videos, and that rabbis that never even, are very expressive, or they're very much, very sober in their way of acting, that day they let loose. It's like they are dancing, and it's such a festive, and so I don't know. It is a very happy occasion, and very much part of the celebration. So it's, to me, it's really neat, kind of like when the woman is the one that lights the candle on Shabbat. It's like, okay, where does that say anywhere in scripture that it has to be that way? Well, somehow our Father put it in somebody's mind to do it that way. And it is a woman that brings forth the true light of the world into the world, into the day of Sabbath, who is the Lord of the Sabbath. So, there's so many things like that you're like, how did they even get to that? It doesn't matter. The Father put it there somehow, and it may not be written, but he has saved that tradition throughout the years. And even when we don't know each other around the world, on Shabbat night, everybody that believes in the word, because that's the other thing, Yeshua is the word. That means the whole thing from beginning to end. And so whether they believe in Yeshua at this point or not, they are believing the word. A part of him they are believing, because he is the word. So, to say, oh, they don't believe in Yeshua, well, they don't know his name yet, but they do believe in Messiah, and they are longing for the Messiah just like us. So it's one of those things that I've actually stopped. Most of the time when I'm reading, I don't put Yeshua there. I put the word, or the living word. So that way in my mind, I can get in the mindset, you are it. You are all of it, not just one little part. And it's kind of like me saying, well, I like Yeshua from the waist up, but that bottom part, I don't want his feet, I don't want his legs. And it's like, what? How does he stand? He needs his legs. He needs his feet. And we're like, it's obsolete. It's not for us, it's for them. And all this, all us and them. And so I try to get in that mindset now. It is the word. It's not like, and he said this, and those are the little red words on the end of the book. And because when you get it in that concept, it's kind of like what Holis is trying to do with us in the creation gospel. Don't see creation of that little part in Bereshit, that first 2 chapters, and we think that's all. No, it's the whole thing, because that's just the little seed that is growing, and you get the big tree at the end. And if you want to partake of that fruit, you need those fruits. Otherwise, you had no fruit. So, and I know you guys know this, I'm preaching to the choir, but for whoever is reading, hearing this, it is important that we change that paradigm and see the whole tree from now on, and not break it apart and only study this little part of him. But okay, so that was the one leading to Daniel, or you have another one there?
Are you good, Mandy?
No, that's all I had.
And the other connection, remember, Sukkot is connected to Passover, the first day. There was water everywhere.
Yeah.
Very
So
true.
yeah, when the
That's
world
true, too.
started, there is water everywhere. Actually, water, it just hit me right now. Thank you, Abba. We're talking about covering. Yeah, water cover everything on day one. So we're covering here, and we get into the end. It's like, it's just, it covered the earth, it covered everything. There was water above, water below, until day 2 that he opened that expanse, and there was actually, the rakia, that the sky, there was water everywhere, but it was in chaos, it was disorder. And then he brings it throughout all the rest to Sukkot, where it's order, there is fruit, everything is in place, and they actually get to eat from that fruit. That's what, the final harvest. And so, yeah, so water would be a main theme between those two.
Yeah. So much to ponder.
Yeah. And see, that's what happens. So here, oh, I don't know what the answer is. And we keep talking and then it just comes. So that's how the Mishnah and everything, all commentaries, and it would be like us after we finish this, and we went back and forth and you said this and I said that. And what about, where does it say that? And we start looking, then we do a little chapter of our conversation.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's how they got to that.
Yeah, I was telling Mandy earlier this week when we were talking, I don't know if you could tell Lisa this or not as a suggestion, but how she does in the beginning of the book, she has like verbs that are associated with the day of creation along the sidebar.
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool if she could add very common phrases that you would see in scripture that are associated with the feasts as well. If that's something that she could add in a future like updated book, because I feel like since I've done the second book, I can see very easily like body parts associated with the wicked lamp and how they connect with the spirits and the days of creation.
Yeah.
But I still struggle somewhat seeing like the feasts and its terminology, because I will read something and then, Halisa will go over it like in a recording and I'm like, that was way over my head. So I don't know if that's something that she would be willing to do or want to do. And like I said, in a newer version as she updates, but yeah, if you want to pass that along or not.
Yeah. I have it over there and I can grab it right now. But what I've done is she doesn't cover really, because this book will be so thick, if she actually did cover. Kisha gives us a lot of stuff on the feast, but it's very narrow in this book. But what I do when I do my 21-day detox, I like to, and it's just a way of memorizing things for me. You know what? I'm gonna go and get it because that way I can show you.
Okay. Are you learning anything, Aloma?
Excuse me, did you?
I said, are you learning anything so far?
Yes, I'm learning a lot. But the unfortunate thing is I don't have the books.
Oh, no.
So I can't relate when you speak, when you take out of the books, because I don't have them.
Or is it like a shipping issue to your country?
Yeah, it's just a big issue because your dollar and our rand, it's 1 to 20 almost.
Whoa, that's crazy.
So it's very expensive. Yeah.
Oh.
And you don't have just one book, you have a lot, or Hulisa has a lot of books. I did go through the whole series of the videos that she's got.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's challenging. And I know that I got even the mail, it's a big issue too. Because when I send, I sent, it was the new Torah cycle started October 3rd. And I sent the first fruits of science. They have those little booklets with all the dates and everything to this pastor. And they, you get them free from them. But I bought him a calendar. So I put in a box, just that. I sent it at the beginning of September. I thought, let me just give it enough time so that he gets it. You know when he got it? In the middle of November.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Well, South Africa is even worse.
Yeah. And he says, sometimes it depends. Obviously, they didn't, when they open it in customs, they didn't want it. But if there's something that somebody wants, you don't get it.
Oh, then you don't get it. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is
mhm.
that
And it's the
is
same in Venezuela. You send something to Venezuela, and when customs open it, if they want it, they keep it.
yeah.
And they can say whatever. They can say, oh, this is not, blah, 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 blah. They can come up with whatever reason to
Excuses.
take it from you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because they
Yeah.
want it. Yeah. So it is it's a big issue. Now, so what I do is, so I put day one, and on the top, I'll put the feast, the day,
Yeah.
darkness, light and darkness. I'll put the feast, Passover. So what I do is I have a little sentence for each. Like for Passover, I put the blood of the lamb.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah.
I put Ephesus. So I put first love. Then I put the spirit, wisdom, Chokmah. And I like to put even the ones that you study when you're doing you're counting the Omer. There is like character traits that you want to work on. On day one is loving kindness. So I put that, and then I go to day two. So for unleavened bread will be bread of affliction. Then first fruits, I'll put resurrection of Messiah. Shavuot, governing light. Trumpets, awakening blast, our resurrection. So that will be the resurrection of all of us. Then day 6 is Yom Kippur, which is, coverings. And then I get to Sukkot, and it is the Feast of the Nations. So I pick up my own. So you can do that. You can just find, because I don't know that a verb will be enough to explain a feast, but you can, so that, because if I go to first love, like, we just did Ephesus, right? So if I'm thinking first love, what does that mean? So it is the first feast, which is, Passover would be the first feast. He is really showing his heart to the nation that he's birthing. So it is the message of all the feasts and the whole Bible is love, because that is who our God is. He is love.
That's right.
So
No,
so then, when I can take off, I just need first love to take off from there. I can explain, even his wisdom. He doesn't have to share that with us, but he does, because he loves us. He wants a relationship with us. So if, what kind of relationship you have when you have all the knowledge, and the person that you're relating to, you keep that person in the dark. There is no relationship there. So, you can take that, in so many directions, and then, but then one builds on the other, and then it's just keeping something there. It reminds me. So, as I go through the cycle, and then I get to day 8, and day 8 is obviously the first day all over again. So then I start all over again. So I put, and so it is repeating over and over all the feast, the spirits, the first day of creation, even the characters. So today, when I'm writing that, it's like today is Yom Rishon. So I added there the days of the week, so I can start learning them. And then it's like, okay, I want to walk today in loving kindness. So then that comes in. I add to those the ones in I even put the wicked lamp. So you have haughty eyes. So okay, so let's just not go there. Care for my eyes, what I see. But then I like to add the pillars of thoughts that Caroline Leaves teaches how our brain works. And that one is intrapersonal. So intrapersonal is the first one. And I'm thinking of that is you go in. So it's nice to start the week just thinking, okay, what am I working on this week? What am I looking for? Do you have any, any directive, any guidance for me,
Yeah.
Father, this week? So you start with that. And so I put the pillars of thoughts in that week also. And the 7 steps to freedom that Neil Anderson teaches is a tool that you use. You kind of like go through that. So when you think about that, the first one is truth versus deception. So you kind of like can think of anything that you may be doing that it's deceiving you, that that will not give you, that you will not have his wisdom. So you pray, okay, bring light out of darkness. What is it this week that you want to bring light out of darkness? And concentrate on something, because that's one of the things that we have the hardest time training our brain. He says, renewing your mind, which means we are in this process until the cows come home, until he comes back. So, it's a daily thing, but he says, take every thought captive. So how do you take something captive? I remember somebody asking me that years ago when I was in Florida, and I'm like, you just take it captive. But I didn't know, I knew what it meant, but I didn't know how to put it in words. So when you're studying in quantum physics, one of the things that you study is superposition. And superposition means, here's the situation, and I'm going to detach myself from it so I can see it from above. So what scripture comes to your mind? Seating on heavenly places with Messiah. That is what superposition is. So this is a situation and I want out of here. Because if I'm in here, I can't think, right? The situation will blind you. The situation will keep you in darkness. And you're just all of a sudden, we have a saying in Venezuela that it is that you can see the bull when you are in the other side of the fence. But if you're in the fence and the bull is breathing on your neck, you don't know where to go. But if you are in the other side of the fence, oh, you see the door anywhere, you say, oh, there, and you can go because you're not in fear. So you always want to get yourself out of the fear zone, because the fear zone doesn't let you think. So you want to get out of there, and you encapsulate it, really. It has no bearing on me. You cannot touch me. So I'm sitting with him in heavenly places. I can look down to that little box and say, let me see how I'm going to, and this is the way I see it. I see a little Tasmanian devil just moving inside that little box, trying to get out. And I'm like, you're staying right there. I'm not opening that door. You cannot touch me. You cannot do, only Abba can open that door. And right now you are where you need to be. So I can think. So you go into superposition. So that is a way of dealing with any stressful situation that won't let you think, because we don't think in survival mode. And if I'm trying to save my life from the bull, I'm in survival mode. So that is, so I put all those things and I start my day. I think those ways. How do I deal with all those issues? But that has been thanks to the menorah, because in the creation gospel, because I just had all that, you go through so many trainings in your life and they're all in little, boxes. I studied this and I studied that, but they don't connect with each other. And so when I got the menorah, and I've shared with you, the different things. Whoops. This is the alarm letting me know that we do have to finish this time right at 11 because I have another one. So like I do this, if you can see. So you can see it has light in darkness. It has Passover, Ephesus. It has the 7 stars. So I put the 7 stars. That's another little mnemonic.
Don't you want to copy that and send it to us on email?
Yeah, I can. but then it has
Yeah.
all the different information that I need for that first day. And then, and I put like, there's an eye here. So, you know, I just put little things, but then on top, you can see this are loving kindness,
Loving kindness, yeah.
justice, discipline, harmony. I'm reading backwards. Emotion. What is, oh, endurance. I'm like, that's not emotion, endurance. So all those days. Then I have you know, this is my mnemonic.
Yeah,
Kisha has the one that she shared about what is it? Oh man, get saved or something. That's her mnemonic to remember. Mine
Every
is
saved person.
El Shaddai
El Shaddai.
X or I wrote something. El Shaddai does something with the saved people. Oh, El Shaddai protects the saved person's life.
right. Yeah, this is her, that's her mnemonic to remember it, which is fine. We all have one. Mine is I like letters. So mine is an acronym. Hers is a mnemonic, and it just is SPL. So if you can see, it starts with ESP. You know, is emphasis, Pergamon, and then the T is Thyatira is right in the middle, and I put the colors of the rainbow. It just helps me too. But then it goes backwards, so it goes SPL. So it's like it goes, you know how it flips in the bottom. So one ends with you know, SP, and actually I think of ESPN, believe me or not. I think of sports. Oh, our brains work differently. So I put them there, and they all have, if you see, it just has a little bit of that church in there. And then down here, I just put Genesis and Revelation. I just took what are the symbols in Genesis, and these are the symbols for the churches in Revelation. So, you know, it's just, but this is one of the ones I've done. Then I have another one that actually has the commands for each church in the assemblies in Revelation. And then I have on the other side, the overcomer, he who overcomes. What do we get when we overcome? So I put the little prices over here. So, you know, it's just, I use different things as I go through different times. And it's all, that's how memory works. Memory is repetition. You create, so going back to how do you take captive? So to take captive a thought, you have to get it out of that darkness, right? You bring it out into the light, and you encapsulate it. So you can say, okay, I'm going to work on this now. And what do I do with this? It's kind of like you put it on a little pedestal and you put the lights on so that, you know, you can see it, but you are seeing it in all different directions. So that is, to me, I am going to deal with this issue and I want to see it. So then I keep it for a week. So I'll keep that for a week and I'm like, okay, this is as much wisdom as I can get out of this. I pray about it. Abba gives me something. Then the next day I start separating it. That's what is separating the waters. So I'm like, okay, so I can see that this happens every time I do this. And you make a little drawing of it. You put the thing in the center, and then you start taking out of it all the different things that you say, every time I get triggered, this is how I feel. And you start putting your emotions, you start putting, this is how I react. I'll scream, I'll break something, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I keep telling you, stop. So you are applying your days, right? So the second day, understanding, it's building, it's separating. So you are working on that. Third day, you gather. Okay, so I have all these elements and I can see that out of this, all this have to go here. They have to be dissolved. This is what I'm trying to just get rid of this, because most of the time the situation, let's say the situation is between you and your husband, you don't want to get rid of your husband. You want to get rid of the obstacles that doesn't let you have a good relationship with him. So that what's in the box it's not always a bad thing. It's just the situation you're dealing with. So I can see all this has to disappear. This I want to keep. So you gather things. All this is negative, all this is positive. Good. So what is positive of this situation? You dwell in that. Whatever you think the most grows. Okay. So when we're thinking on
feed.
Yes, when you're thinking on, oh, this is horrible, this is gonna, and I'm not gonna be able to do this, and now, and you think of all this negative, that becomes big. So what happens to God? God becomes this little, because all you can think of is all the negative around that. Well, you're feeding this. Whatever you think, you're also feeding it. You're giving it energy. So that becomes stronger every time. So then you say, well, you know what? I don't want to deal with that. So you let it go down into your subconscious. Well, your subconscious is running 24/7, 365 all the time. So that is gaining energy down here. So every time it comes up to the surface and you don't deal with it and you send it down, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's why you sit in heavenly places and you see everything. You separate, right? And you gather, this is all what's good. What does Philippians 4:8 says? It says, you dwell in everything that is pure, that is good, that is of good report, that is worthy, that is excellent, that is worthy of praise. And those things you dwell. So then you dwell in the good. When you are given the good energy, it's growing. That's all you're thinking. So then what happens is that energy is going to start debilitating the part. So then all of a sudden your bad things became this little and your God became this big.
Good things,
So you have to put everything always in perspective. But when you get to day 4 is when you finally really have to say, is it going to be me taking care of this, or is it going to be you? So whoever sits on the throne takes over on day 4. So that's when you say, okay, Abba, all yours. Here you have it. I want to do whatever you want me to do. So in day 4 is the governing. Remember, it governs the sun, the moon, and the stars to govern day and night. So who I wanted to cover. If I'm a child of God that walks in the light, I need him to be governing, right? So we give this box to him, and he's the one who's going to work with it. So then what happens on day 5? So day 5, you have the breath of God, the power of God. You have the Holy Spirit guiding you, his currents. He has already set everything up for you to walk in victory. He prepared deeds in advance for you to walk in. So you want that box to follow the breath of God, not your thinking. Because just like Yeshua said to Nicodemus, you don't know where you can sense the wind, but you don't know where it goes, right? So I don't. I think it should go this way. In my little understanding, that's what should happen, but that doesn't mean it will. So I have to let him move that box wherever he needs to move it. So then you get to day 6, and when he's taking you through all that, this whole thing is for what? To help us have a better relationship with him. So we get to knowledge. So we have to separate, and he's having a relationship with your thinking part, right? With your mind of Messiah. Here's where the door is open, and you open, and he dines with you. He dines with you, like he said to Job. He said to him, let us reason together. And what did he do? He asked him questions. Where were you? When So they're having questions there. in survival mode, there is no question. It's what do I do? I have to run. I have to do this. I have to hide. Whatever it is, it's a doing place. It's not a thinking place. But up here it is executive brain function. You are thinking. So then you get to that day 6 and you're saying, okay, this is my final. Remember day 2, I was separating. Day 6, it's am I relating to you with the mind of Messiah, or am I relating to you with my flesh? So that's where Yeshua talks to Peter after he comes back and he says, do you love me? Feed my sheep. But he's asking him, do you agape me? Do you have that sacrificial love for me? And what is Peter answering? I phileo you. Yeah, I love you like a brother. So it's the earthly love. And he asked him again, do you agape me? Yes, I do. You know I do. I phileo you. So they're talking about 2 different loves. So he always takes us to that. This is just getting all the mess around me separated. But then when you get to day 6, he has to separate inside of me that. And then at the time, if I say, and he's so good to us, if, at the end, Peter just say, you know my heart, you know I phileo you. It's like, this is all I can give you. and he says, okay, feed my sheep. So he knows how much we can give. And if I'm not at the place of agape, that sacrificial love, that it thinks more of you than me because I'm here to serve you, then, that's that brotherly love is the Church of Philadelphia. So then, he says, it's okay. It's okay. The oxen, when we're talking about taking the burden, you would always put the yoke on the experienced oxen. You would put a weak one or a younger one, an experienced one, so that this one you yoke them together, and then this one will actually take you alongside of him. So what he's saying with that is, it's okay. I have you, you're yoked to me. I'll teach you. And he does say to him, there will be a day where you will go where you don't want to go. Remember? So, so it's kind of like, okay, don't worry about it. You're yoked to me. I'll take you. I'll teach you. And this whole journey is learning that heart. So that's why you start with the first love. And when you end, he takes you into Sukkot, which is where you rest. And you come to him in that day of rest and you say, I phileo you. I'm giving you everything I have. I know it's not enough, but I'm giving you everything I have. So he says, okay, just sit at my feet and I will give you all that you need. So that's how you take one, you put all that information in a menorah and you can think through. This is not so that we can say, oh yeah, tell me what day, day 1, da, 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 day 2. No, it's not about that. How does this relate to you? How does it enter the fibers of your being? And you have to remember, we're all unique. So you are going to absorb that and make it your own the way it fits you, whatever it's easy for you. And like, she has hers, I have mine. We all have different ways. And it is nice when Holisa gives us certain things, and that's why her questions can go in all different directions. The first time I ever encountered her teaching system, it bothered me because I was a straight A student. You tell me, I memorize it and I give it back to you. So I was a good student of that system. I was not a really good student of her system. And when she's like, okay, here's the question, and I can answer in 10 different ways. Oh, that bothered me. No. Narrow it down. Just tell me what you want. because I want to get an A here, right? And she's like, I could, and you can get an A for me, but would that be an A for you? And
Yeah.
that's where she makes you burst out of that box and say, you know, you're right. I'm going to make my own box, and I am going to find my own way around this. Thank you for the tools. I'm building my own ark. So with that said, that's a long answer to your question. So just write it down. The best way, this is what Caroline Lee says when she's explaining how our brain works. We like little boxes. We like 1, 2, 3 and put it in linear. And that's not the way our brain works. Her brainstorming is like most places. If you've ever been in a brainstorming session, they'll put papers all over the wall and everybody puts words here, there, and then you all sit back and look at, and you try to make something out of that. So that has to be, and it's like that. You put something in the center. That's what I'm working on, and it looks like a mess. You're putting everything that comes to your mind, a feeling, a thought, a sense, a color, whatever it is that a song, you know, whatever comes to your mind, you all put it there. And then as you're doing your week, then you're putting everything where it needs to go. So today I'm putting on my Bina lenses. I need to see it this way. I'm putting on my Urat, you know, in reverence of you. How do I work with this? You know, how can I sit at your feet and let you help me see this the way you want me to see? Because the same situation, he may have you react in a totally different way than Mandy. And it's not your way is better than Mandy's, or Mandy's is better than yours, but that's what works for each one of you. So that's where you sit and say, okay, Father, you give me what you need for this vessel, for this time. And you know, you may present the same situation a week later, a year later, and you will react differently. You have learned so much that you can now apply it in a different way. Because we know that Peter, at the end of his days, he didn't even feel like he was worthy to be crucified like his Savior. He was crucified. He said, just put me upside down. So he did learn agape. He did not phileo to the ends of his days. So he learned that. So, you know, that's just the way all this, and I love the Q&A because gets us to a place where we can wrestle with this and how do we dress up the skeleton. And your, you know, your skeleton is going to look so different than mine, but they're both going to be beautiful.
But it's a guide. If you send it to us, then it's a guide for me that has got the books. Yeah.
Okay, I will. I have several. I'll send you. Yes.
Thanks.
Aloma, do you get a Facebook?
I am on Facebook. I don't go there often. I just look at the our groups. You know, the.
Okay, I'm going to request your friendship, and when you accept me, I can invite you. I have one that it's called Creation Gospel and Other Topics or something like that. So I have a lot of my charts there so that then you can glean from those.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Yeah.
Okay, any other question?
No, I think I've learned a lot today.
Oh, awesome.
Grateful.
So glad, Aloma.
When we finish, I sit down and I start thinking of all these things and make notes of what I learned, and then I ponder over it till we speak again. You know? Yeah.
Good. And something that is very important, everything you learn, please write it down, do something with it, think about it and say, okay, So I would do this, or I would say that even if you just talk to yourself,
That's
speak
right.
it out. He spoke the word into being,
Creation,
because
yeah.
that's the way our brain works. He made us
Yeah.
in his image. So if you do not write it down, speak it out, share it with someone within the first 3 days, think about it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why
Yeah.
is that.
The 3, yeah.
Then you lose it. We have a very efficient brain that comes in, and whatever is not being used is a little Pac-Man that eats up anything that doesn't need to stay. So when we repeat it, when we do something with it, then we protect that information in our brain, and the little Pac-Man doesn't come and clean it up at night. Okay, so make sure memorization is so important. That's why Kisha keeps saying, okay, every time, what's day 1? What's day 2? And you're like, okay, you're ready. Why are we wasting time on this? Okay, this is precious time. Let's go on to something else. No, it is important because you're creating a deeper rot. Every time you repeat, that's how our brain remembers things. And I heard this once, and I love that illustration. If I get a piece of thread and go around my 2 fingers, I can break them really easy. Thread is very thin. If I do it over and over and over, even though that piece of thread can be broken,
it's stronger. Yeah.
You cannot move those fingers apart. So that's what memorization does. Just keep dwelling on it, keep thinking about it, write it down, make a little drawing, do something. That's another thing, drawing and putting color. What happens is, because you're spending time on it, you are slowing down the parts of your brain. You know, it goes deeper into the middle of the brain where the amygdala is, where your library is. So you want to slow down the process. You don't want to have it only on the outer surface of the brain. You want it to go deep in. And the only way that it goes deep in is by slowing down the process. We want everything done, you know, microwave style, and that's not the way God works. He works in a week span. He uses days.
7 days.
Yes, you have to slow the process and stay with it. Don't change. Today I'm going to work on this. Tomorrow I'm going to work on this. The next day I'm going to work on this. Well, yes, you're going to be, what is it that they say? Something of everything but master of none. There is a
what do you say?
There is a saying that you may know a lot of things, but you're not an expert in any, because you are
not
just
you are. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, there is a it's an American saying.
Yeah, I know the Afrikaans one.
The Afrikaans one, yeah. So so that means you stick with it. Use your whole week. Use all the Spirit of God. Use every day of creation. Use all the churches. Use all the feasts as you're thinking on that. And then you can say, after a week and you sat down on Shabbat and you close that chapter, you can start a new one the next week. That is the healthiest way for our brain to work. And we are like, no, okay, good. I finished that one. Next and next. And we just want to finish. And it's like, stick with me a little longer.
Yeah. And it's good that this session, the questions and answers, are on the Sunday. So we start the week off with this.
That's good.
Got the 7 days.
Yes. Yes, Amanda, you have a question?
Oh, yeah, no, it's actually related to what she said. So when you go through and you're looking at those days, now I realized that the mind and emotions and everything, like those dealing with day 1 through 7, but you were also talking about like, you know, if something happens, like what happens, like not everything happens on, you know, Sunday. You know, I don't always have an argument with my husband on Sunday. Sometimes it's Thursdays.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if it's Thursday,
Mhm.
do you go through that process of the days 1 through 7 to separating everything from a day 1 standpoint, or like how does that work?
Okay, well, like you said, you have all the tools, and they don't all come in. Nothing happens on Sunday, so you can start the week with that. So what you do at that point, you do, but because you know the process, you can do the process right there. Okay, so what is true about this? What's the light in this problem? So the light is, and I'm just going to make up something. Well, whatever the situation is, the light is you love him, he loves you, and you're married. That's the truth in your relationship. So, okay, so break it down. That's the light. Okay, now the darkness is whatever the problem is. It's hindering that. That is what I need to work on, because this is solid. When you do that, what happens is our brain always wants to be safe. So when you put the situation in a safe mode, that means this part is what sits on the throne with Messiah. And the problem, you're separating that. So you can immediately say, okay, let's speak truth here. What's true about this? Okay, he said this, but he probably used the wrong words. He probably was angry, he was hungry, he was tired, or something happened, something is worrying him, and he did not approach it the best way possible. But the truth is, he loves me and he wants the best for me. So let's start from there. That means you're stepping up, you're going to heavenly places, and you put the situation there. So then you separate whatever the situation is. You're not separating the two of you. You're separating the situation. So then you deal with that, then you gather whatever, then you submit it to the Father, then you say, Holy Spirit, guide me on this. I don't know how to go about it, but you do. So I'm trusting you. And then you get, okay, so how, if I put myself in his shoes, and that's day 6, okay, in order for me to love him as I love myself, I want people to know where I'm coming from. I want people to know my heart. I know people to know what I have walked. So let me put myself in his shoes. So then I can understand what he's saying. And the best thing in situations like that is questions. Questions means you're up here. If you are just acting or speaking out, you are not in executive. You are in survival. I don't feel safe. You are in limbic. I don't feel loved or heard, or I'm not connecting with you. So you can come back and say, okay, I'm not connecting with this. Can you help me understand what is it that you're really saying? And then he may very well say, you know what? This is really what's bothering me. Had nothing to do with this, but I just have this thing in my mind that is going and going and going, and I can't put it down. And when you came with this, I just couldn't handle it. So I just said, So I'm like, oh, wow. All I took from this is that you are angry at me. I did something you didn't like, or, whatever it is, the situation. And you're like, I'm sorry, babe. I was here. This is really bothering me. I'm like, oh, good. So you did that. You did what Abba did with Job. Where were you when this happened? So let's talk it out. Let's ask each other questions. And then let's say you realize, even though I understand all that, my reaction was not really the best reaction to you. You trigger me somewhere. This is me. Now I'm going to take my responsibility in dealing with this. So when the week starts, and you can start it the next day, it doesn't matter that it's Friday, I'm going to deal with this issue now, because you can start the week anywhere. I like to start it on Sunday, but you can start it anyway. Tomorrow, I'm dealing with this. So I am speaking too fast and I'm not asking questions. That means I'm going into survival mode and I am not. And I don't want, we love others as we want to be loved. I don't want you to do that to me. I want you to ask me questions. So that's going to be my next thing. I need to learn to ask questions. So then you did all that, just sitting down, thinking for a minute, and you use all your tools and you ask the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit said, yeah, he did that, but you did too. What you have to deal with yours. I'm like, okay, I need to deal with this, because you want that relationship to get stronger and better as years go on. So that's your little brain exercise. And that's how you apply all this to your life.
Okay.
So you may be in different different days depending on the situation. Like I might be on day 2 on a Thursday dealing with this one situation, but I might be in day 5 dealing with a different relationship or a different situation kind of thing.
Yeah, and our Father, see, it may sound a little chaotic if you put it that way, but our Father knows what we can deal with and how we can deal with it.
Yeah.
So even though it may be a different day, you might have started the week thinking on, I need to be more loving when I respond to others. And then this happens on Thursday. And it's like, this is exactly what you were telling me. You just gave me an example and I need to work on that. So, and that's what happens with the portions, doesn't it? Every portion applies to our life right now. It's like, I see Egypt right now. I see restriction and limitations right now. Yep, I've been silenced right now. Yep. So, you see that it happens all the time. So he will put it in context, and you'll realize that they're more connected than you think. So.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. It's 11:02, so you get to your meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, love you all. And just, write them down. It's so much easier to write them, the questions, when you think about them at the moment, and then just send them out. And then when we get together, it will be, we can target them faster. And they will get more complex, let me tell you, as we start putting those churches in there. Is like, whoa, that really did a lot in my mind. And the bowls and yeah, it's a lot. So it's gonna get better. It always does.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Simi, for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you
My
very
pleasure. Take care, girls, and
Love you
everybody else
guys.
that watches this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.